And we're back with part two of our immortality mukbang on this 10th of December. My apology. I was supposed to taste because this is technically a new, and I like to do two videos, one in French and one in English. So we're back with immortality. Now we kind of touched the subject. I think immortality we went with the science aspect, but I think psychology is it's more so it's weird because it's more so an idea. It's more so a concept more so than reality. Instead of being facts, it's factual, but it's only factual because we have elements and we have proof that show that immortality is there. So I'm gonna say a couple of names, right? I'm gonna say a couple of names, and you're gonna tell me if you know them or not. The first thing I'm gonna say is super simple. Talk about Jules Caesar. Talk about Cleopatra. We're gonna be talking about Martin Luther King. We're gonna be talking about Ing Vendetta. We're gonna be talking about Achilles. We're gonna be talking about see, pretty much, take people like Gandhi, Muhammad Ali to a certain degree. Everybody knows them. Everybody knows them even when they're dead. Now, technically, Muhammad Ali isn't dead. And now, technically, Ing Vendetta, you see, the group Ing Vendetta wasn't somebody that you knew. So, in these cases, Achilles, he died millennium ago, right? Millennium ago. And then you're like, holy shit, dude, I still know him. So immortality, what if immortality, right, was a concept more than a reality, right? Now, technically speaking, right, I'm going to be teaching you the way to become immortal. And the way to become immortal, right, is kind of crazy, but it actually works really well. So immortality, when you understand that it's a concept, right, then it's not because immortality, if you talk it about like that, there's no bounds. So for example, right, the person that invents electricity, right? A lot of people are gonna say Thomas Edison, right? But there was somebody before that. A lot of people that talk about the phone. The phone, we're talking about Norton Graham, right, which is the inventor of the phone. You might not know the inventor of the phone or the electricity, right? But then again, you know him. Now, the fun fact is, you say, wait a second, Ink. Wait a second, Ink. You didn't mention Nikola Tesla, right? Which is the inventor of the electricity. It's actually quite controversial. A lot of people say that somebody stole somebody, and nobody knows the truth, right? Now, technically, with Elon Musk, he's calling his car Tesla as an homage to Nikola Tesla. See, Nikola Tesla, the inventor of the electricity, Tesla being in electric cars, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Kind of makes sense a lot, right? So, you see, here we have this invention that is immortal, right? You take medication, you take Tylenol, you take antibiotic. Before antibiotic, people were dying from multiple cures. So the person that invented antibiotic, right, is technically not. Nobody knows their name, right? But they're technically immortal because we still use this today, their invention. But if you look at it, this concept of immortality is nonsensical in a way. There's a lot of things that are working towards proving that this is a possible theory or a possible concept. There's a lot of proof that goes against it. For example, you take a character, right? Like I don't know, Maximus. Okay, technically we have a new movie with Gladiator. Now, Spartacus or Gladiator is a very old movie. So you see the first movie with Russell Crowe is actually a remix. There's a movie before that. The movie was made in 1980. It was called Ben-Hur, which is the first version of Gladiator. But in the both cases, they're playing this character called Maximus, right? Now the interpretation are different, which kind of it's like, okay, well, who was Maximus? But there's a lot of information online. So you see, even if you're talking about God, we're gonna be talking about God, and not to be biased, not to be like, oh, this God is more than another God. We're gonna be taking God from mythology. Now, the reason why we're taking God from mythology is actually quite simple. If I take a God from mythology, there's multiple, so they're all shared. So let's say the Norse, let's say the Greek mythology. So you take Zeus, you take Zeus, Hades, Poseidon, you take Hermes, you take Charon, you take Athena, you take Artemis, you take Hercules, you take Hera, you take. I used to know them by heart. Holy shit! You take Aphrodite, you take Persephone, you take Cerberus, you take I mentioned 80s, yeah, I mentioned 80s for sure. And that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. So, and then you go in the Norse mythology, and right away it's less popular. It's less known. It's less known because a lot of people are see. It's kind of funny because, okay, so technically speaking, right? So this is a very cool concept when it comes to immortality. It's a very cool concept when it comes to explaining what is immortal and what isn't immortal, right? We have the Norse mythology. Now, why is the Norse mythology not as popular as Greek mythology? For a very simple reason. The Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, the Viva la Vida. I hear Jerusalem bells, they're ringing, Roman cavalry choir, they're singing, and because the empire was huge, their influence was huge. So even then, by their influence, there's remnants of that knowledge. For example, with the Bible, with this church, there's a lot of remnant of the culture. Yes, we have teacher now. It's not priests that are teaching us, but the school system is still very much the one that was in place with the churches. So by having a Greek empire that's a lot bigger than the Norse empire, right? Then the Greek mythology is more known. Now, technically speaking, let's go really, really in theory, right? So let's go with the Greek mythology, right? And let's go with the Norse mythology. What is more important? A lot of people say Greek mythology because they know about it. The Norse mythology they don't know, but you kind of know about it, right? You know about Odin, you know about Thor, you know about Loki, you know about you know about Jörmungandr, you know about Baldur, you know about Freya, you know about. See, and it's not as popular now. You can have shows like fucking Vikings, which is the main character is Ragnar Lodbrok, which is a character that actually existed. It's funny, we're watching a Ghostbuster, and we're watching them watch Chucky, which is fucking phenomenal. And that is pretty much it. So you see, it's weird because by that theory, two things that had the same importance, right? And even I had problem naming you god of the Norse mythology, right? Now the Greek mythology I know a bit more, right? I have Atlas tattooed here. I gotta show you because I'm not wearing pants. Thank God. And yeah, so you would think that immortality wise, Greek mythology is closest because it stayed here. There's an entitle. So immortality also goes with the soul. So I don't know if you believe in soul and shit like that, but technically speaking, right, your constitution as a human being is bone, skin, bone, muscle. Right? Forget everything else. Forget everything else. Skin, bone, muscle. If you want to go more at it, we're made of water. We're made of atoms. We're made of iron. We're made of a bunch of things. Breaking Bad is actually a really good set about it. So Breaking Bad does a really good set, and the second season when we have a very young Walter White, and they're working in the constitution of the human, and they're saying there's 0.7% left. What is it? And they say maybe it's the soul. So the soul, technically speaking, is kind of cool. So we're all the same. If I had a brother, me and him would have had the same constitution, right? We'd have the exact same thing. Now, funnily enough, right? You could say, well, you and your brother possibly have a different DNA, right? Because possibly with your father, you inherit more DNA from your father, or your brother inherit more DNA from your father. Now you earn more DNA from your mom, or your brother has more DNA from your mom. Yeah, it makes sense. So you see with this, right? But the no matter how much it is, the two sets of chromosome that made you, which is X and Y, made you into who you are, right? X and X for male, and X and Y for females. But the genetic constitution is the same, right? So what would be different is your perception, right? But most of it would be soul. So technically, what's kind of cool if you think about the soul, you could see it as, okay, well, reincarnation. Reincarnation is actually a really really cool explanation of that. For example, I have this new body, right? I have this soul, and this soul will go from body to body to body to body to body, and that's the way it goes, right? So reincarnation touch on that. See, we talk a lot about religion right now. Even if you look at fucking books, like if you take the Bible's a bit complicated because the Bible has the Old Testament and the New Testament. If you look at thing like the Quran, which has been existing for 3,000 years. If you look at the Torah, which is the religious document for Judaism, which is 3,000 years old, right? So you could think those books are immortal. Their interpretation may be different, but the source is the same, right? So immortality once again is seen now. By definition, immortality is the inability to die. Mm? But mm, mm, there's more than one. So you would say mortality, inability of dying. But if, and only if, right? Everybody lives till 80, right? The normal lifespan is 80 years old. Let's just say. And then you have a person that died at 60. Technically speaking, right? Would say he died young, which is true. My grandma died at 50. And everybody talks about her. Oh, she died so fast, you know? Have you ever heard of somebody dying too old? No. No. When you reach to an age, what is your secret to staying alive, right? What is your secret to staying alive? Almost as if they're immortal. This is the bodily function. This is the physical manifestation of immortality. Now, we're seeing this, we're seeing that, with names that are known, and immortality being a concept of them existing. That's actually really special. That's so good. Fuck. See, and it's weird. It's really weird because immortality is such a weird concept. And it said that if everybody was immortal, it wouldn't mean anything, right? But who did something lately? And it sucks because, literally, if who wasn't immortal, who is this a person in the modern day and age that is something like, oh, this will be remembered forever? People like Abraham Lincoln. I don't know when he was born or when he died. But technically, for him to be immortal, what is it? 500 years? 600 years to 1,000 years? Remember, then he entered the pantheon of immortal people. Now, understanding that immortality can be seen as a concept in your mind, right? A shared comprehension of something. Shared comprehension of the existence of somebody. We see this a lot with Mandela effect. Mandela effect being, okay, well, there's songs that you thought that had a different ending they don't have. There's characters on TV that you thought had something they don't have. Now, the weird thing with Nelson Mandela effect is very akin to immortality. The weird thing with Mandela effect is not only you believe that. A lot of people believe. For example, one of the best examples is C-3PO. If you know your Star Wars World Wars, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, let me explain. Super simple. It's a robot, right? Diplomatic robot that can talk a million language, and he's made of all gold, right? Ooh, level up, baby. I was like, why am I not moving? Let's go. Let's go. We'll do another experience, then we'll do a one for upgrading Fang. We'll have a maximum of the new one, which is good. We have a new operator, a 6-star, which is really good. An Arc Knight, right? My apologies. And the thing with Mandela effect, so in the movie, a lot of people thought that he was all golden, but actually, if you look at the movie, right, he had a silver leg. So the Mandela effect is like, why? It's the questioning of, Why does everybody thought it had a full body of gold? Why can't nobody remembered? Why can't nobody remember that it had a silver leg? Now, the Nelson Mandela effect is a really, 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 really cool effect on the possible rift of time. So, I'm gonna be putting okay. I'm gonna be putting these two bottles. This is a bit full, so let me drink a little bit so we don't make a mess. Talking about multiverses, right? Multiverses. So in this exact and this one, right? We have the timeline that we're in right now, right? Right? And then we have a timeline where C3PO, the example I gave before, has a golden leg, right? So if everybody, right, remember this, then this doesn't really make any sense, right? But this is the good timeline. So then we switch timeline, right? Now, if we switch timeline, then there's a possible multiverses that's existing, right? Now, the cool thing about that is immortality is only a concept if everybody remembered their name, or a majority of the people remember their name, or they're still part of nowadays culture or teachings. Because again, the funny thing is your culture might be different from mine. But if we learn the same subject, then the bigger chance that we're covering the same material, right? So, full. Let's continue to eat. By having multiple verses, right, where people remember something that is not true, or people have a misunderstanding, misrepresentation of a certain subject, then the idea of immortality is kind of crazy. Now, I want to go back to because we're going to be finishing the video right away. Not right away, but we're going to be finishing this and already finished with the multiverses and the immortality concept, right? So what is kind of cool is, let's go into multiverses a little bit more. That way it makes more sense, right? Now, the multiverses is very common and which shows like Rick and Morty, right? Very, very, very important. Now, the craziest thing about multiverses is multiple timeline. Now, multiple timeline can involve a better timeline or a worse timeline. For example, look at the worst act in history. Look at the Third Reich. Look at the Second World War. There's that this doesn't happen. Now, there's a whole timeline where this never happened. Now, we are in a timeline where this happened, right? Is the timeline that we're in right now, right? The timeline that we're right now is a good one or the bad one? Now, technically speaking, right, this is so interesting because if something as horrible as the Third Reich happening, if there's something as terrible as genocide happening, then it possibly means that we aren't in a good timeline. But everything that you know today, everything that you're going through today, everything that you're seeing on TV, on the radio, on your podcast, on YouTube, is a result of what happened back then, right? It shaped your grandparents. Who shaped your parents? Who shaped you? Am I right? I'm right. Well, I hope I'm right. Otherwise, I'm fucking way off. Maybe in a different timeline, right? So, basically speaking, this is the current state of events. Now, I don't know if the good timeline or bad timeline, but this is our timeline, right? So, immortality, we have people that are immortal in this timeline and some people that are not immortal in this timeline. Now, technically speaking, you can think that the example that I mentioned before are not immortal. But here's how you can become immortal, right? So, since the beginning, we've talked about immortality as a concept that is going on between those four walls, which creates your head. You're right. North, south, east, west, I guess. West, I guess. I went there. And the great thing is, inside of this, there's a whole universe, right? So you can see the world as a universe. You can see the world as created by the Big Bang, right? And the Big Bang is your birth. Or in 7 days, God created Earth, which is in the 9 months, your mom and your dad created a planet, which is you. Now, you're not a planet in the sense of the physical sense of the term, but everything that happens surrounding you, everything that happens with the people that are in your life is your own universe. So by having this own universe, you're in the middle. You're the seed of this universe. You're the dogma of this universe, right? It's a catharsis of experience. Now, the cool thing about this is you're like, okay, well, I understand that I'm in the middle of my own universe, and that everything that happens in here is its own universe, right? Because this is only a tool. This is only a tool. So this is the forest, this is the water, this is the mountain, whatever you want to call it, but this is where the people are. And I'm not saying people as people, but a difference of opinion, perception, understanding, receiving information, giving out information, and these four walls are kind of important because if you believe that somebody is immortal, then it possibly is immortal, right? Now, let's say a physical aspect of that's immortality, because again, we're here for physical more than theoretical, right? You prefer facts? I prefer facts too. Kind of cool, right? Kind of cool. So the fun thing that we have here is, okay, well, how do we become immortal? Well, it's super simple, right? In this universe, in my universe, I'm immortal. In this universe, I am immortal. How am I immortal? How am I? Well, when I'm born, right, this universe is created. When I'm born, this universe is created. When I die, this universe die. Now, technically speaking, some remnant of the universe can be present. Kids, right? A social difference that you made. A general difference in the culture you've created, right? So this is immortality. The birth and the end of a universe, right? This is your universe, this is your immortality, right? Now, but if I was to tell you that you can recreate this every single places, right? So I go in a room, right? I go in a room and there's three people, right? And the whole fucking day, I call myself Ing Vendetta. I say, hey, Ing Vendetta did this, Ing Vendetta did that. For the whole day, I call about myself, right? Now there's three people, right? That are that are understanding of my existence, right? Now, the funny thing is, we probably know each other, right? Because it's three people, it's easy. But what if I did the same exercise? What if I did the same thing in a room of 100 people, right? And then for the whole day, 100 people, I scream, "Hey, I'm Ink Vendetta! I'm Ink Vendetta! I'm Ink Vendetta!" Now, chances are that the majority of those 100 people, at the end of the day, are gonna know who I am. Now, here's where's the important part coming in. Here's where the interesting part coming in. If a majority know one person, doesn't mean that they know each other, right? So